Aloha. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'm going to wait for a couple people to get in and work out a couple of technicals here. So I'm really excited to do this workshop with you guys today. This is something that has been on my mind. And to be honest with you, this isn't really like my my forte, I guess. I mean, it's my forte. It's not my style. I'm not in the style of doing warfare, right? I'm in the style of, um, more of the light, love, healing your DNA, empowered self healing, all of that kind of stuff. So let me go ahead and just share this. Thank you for being here. And we've kind of held on a couple minutes. I have some friends that are checking in with me, so if they can't find the link, I've got to make sure that this is even live appropriately, right? Okay, so it looks like I'm live. Looks like we're doing good. We're connected. I'm not gonna wait any longer. I'm going to go ahead and let this just go ahead and be started. So, anyway, it says I'm live. Let this. Okay, I found me. I'm live. It's really happening. Aloha, everybody. And let's get this show on the road. So, it's 3 minutes in. Here we go. So, basically, about me, my name is. Oh my, totally lost. So many tabs. Oh, the internet. Okay, let me share my screen with you here. I'm going to take myself. We're just going to do this as big as we can. And there we go. Okay, so this is Spiritual Warfare 101. Now, I don't know if you can see or feel or know what's going on around us. I'm pretty sure most of us can. And I think the reason that this has been so difficult, other than, yes, the world is going to what seems like hell in a handbasket, but it's only through this crazy fog, this upstir of dust and smoke, that from ashes to ashes. And here we are, burning ourselves, right? Through all of our past ways. And, a lot of the things that we learned and how we came into this life has to do with how we were created to be. We were designed in such a way, and by designed, I mean beyond what we consider religious, but into the essence of our makeup, right? We are a single-celled organism that was created multicellularly through consumption, right? But now we're in a state of, okay, we're at the level at which most of us need to be in terms of our physical evolution. It's now moving on to a spiritual evolution. But as you can see through this presentation, which I'll show you, we have been more or less stripped of our spirit nature, stripped of our divine essence. And a lot of us are here to help guide people back. And that's where we get to who am I? Right? My son might be popping in and out. He just woke up. So this is basically, what I think is one of the best quotes ever from one of my favorite movies in the 90s. And it's, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. And, a lot of us have been in this space where we don't know who the true devil is, right? So in all of this, part of it can honestly be our own thoughts, our own minds. Part of it can be what we've been taught in school or who we've been taught by our ancestors, but even down to the level of our DNA and what's been passed on throughout our lifetimes and throughout our ancestors, our DNA programming. Now, the reason I can get so deep in the DNA program is I'm a well-studied scientist, and I'm actually in food sustainability. You just want to play with my water, huh? Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about me. So who am I? My name is April Williams. I'm a beautiful single mother of a wonderfully intelligent and curious young man named Emanuele Jet Kamakani. And all that to be said, it's leading in and lending in that golden leading in. Yes, I see. Don't touch. Go play with them. Owie. Oh, you think you have an owie? Okay, so single mother who actually went through the most to get here. And the reason I'm a mother to this day is because I chose to trust in my intuition and spirit. And spirit brought me here to really find out about what this is. Okay, in Hawaii, this is one of the most beautiful. They're still allowed to be in with their culture, but you can see how it was systematically stripped away. They still have all the evidence of their. They still have all the evidence of what it was like to be here before industrialization and people pushing and pulling into their culture. And it's interesting because a lot of us have already have our cultures taken, and of course, right? He's quiet and good all day except for right now when I'm doing this presentation. So give me just one moment. Hey, you need to stop right now. I'm working. You need to go play. I'm going to either lock you out. No. Nope. Don't you start with the fits. Don't you start with the fits. You didn't get hurt. You're just saying, ouch. Yeah, I need a minute. Look, I told you I had to work this morning. I put on your shoes. Look, you have plenty of snacks. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm just going to start this whole thing over again. Okay, so that was 10 minutes of wow. But my son is paints. He's good. He's in a state of bliss. And little does he know that it only gets better from here, honestly. Even though mommy's not available for 30 minutes, it's okay, right? And that's one of the things I actually think is really interesting. I'm just going to get into it. I was raw. I was vulnerable. I didn't unmute. I didn't take myself off the screen for you to see and experience what I'm going with and how I'm actively attempting to share with you how we, the people, have been disempowered and how we can start to empower ourselves again. Now, if the communities were more open, if we were left in a state of being able to actually share with one another and actually be present and safe with one another, it would be a whole nother level. But look at how far the families have been broken apart. Look at how far mental illness has been pushed. Trauma has been induced. all of us are in states of feeling really like we're in a being broken down to be rebuilt. We're all uncomfortable enough to say something. And some of us don't have the levels of communication, like my son, whenever he isn't getting what he wants, he says, ow, 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 whether he's getting out or not. But he's also had those, what we call terrible twos. It's not terrible. It's a matter of him just understanding how to communicate, right? Because he's learning he's an autonomous being. He's learning that he's sovereign from his mother. But does he have full sovereignty? Just like when you look at how that's mirrored in our world, in our reality. I really wanted to go with the whole script about how we were systematically taken out. And maybe I'll do that real fast. Maybe I'll go through this presentation as quickly as possible without any of the depth that I wanted to go to. But we are at war. We are in this battle for our souls, for our lives, for our peace, for our freedom. And we have been pushed into a state of coercion, right? Where a lot of people are in fight or flight. Now, it has been thousands of years of being subjugated and being kind of rallied just from here to there, just as we have been ruled by kingdoms and queendoms and governments and, systems of the medical system. We've put these at the top of and I break down in this presentation how these institutions have been set and how we've abided to them, but we have not actually abided to our truth, which is the Mother Earth, right? And no matter what religion you have been grown in or grown under, your autonomy still goes with your mind and your connection to your version of the great I am. Now, I use words like God and Jesus is a great example because he acted with such humility and such grace, and his connection was so strong that he never denied being a daughter or son of the great I am. But we are in a state of, because there's so many names and so many faces, and we want to categorize in order for survival, which we've had to do, right? This is good, this is bad. If I go with this, I will be fine. If I go with this, I will be killed or taken resources away from, and XYZ. We have been programmed to oscillate this way so that we no longer hear our true connection, right? We've even been told this is what God is saying to you, right? This is what God is telling you to do. Well, the reason I'm even here in Hawaii, which I was going to start, was my prayers. God told me to come here. The energy, the essence told me to come here and start a family. And what I have witnessed since I've begun going into this process of really embodying the mother, which is how you actually embrace going between and understanding life and death, right? Even when you have someone, or when you create an idea, when you birth something, through our essence, through our creation power, that is how things are made. And being a vessel, being a woman who carries so much energy and so much fire and so much passion towards that healing of our divine nature, and reconnection with that nature, it baffles me that there aren't more people having this conversation about getting stabilized in themselves. Okay, so spiritual warfare, because I'm going off script, and I'll do my best to kind of hone it in a little bit and get it across to you what's going to be ideal for your survival, and actually still do some energy healing at this point, is breathe. Know that you are here for a reason, even when it seems like chaos, right? Because we are still deep cleaning, people. The world will not rest until all of her children can be heard. I actually did a huge deep meditation this morning and a lot of prayer, and I picked up my book of reference, which is my Bible, right? And I read some verses, and it was just, it was serious. And it was interesting because it mirrored what our reality currently is vibrating. And I say reality because there's several layers of reality, and it's based on what you're willing to see and accept and understand. And when you can anchor, which I help people anchor into who they are, but without too much coddling. There's that Libra moon aspect of me that says, I just want to make sure there's balance and it's an easy enough transition, but to be real, some things hurt. Some things feel so uncomfortable that you are just forced to move, right? It's all of this idea of sitting in complacency of our states of mind, of our acceptance of certain ideologies that have been passed down to us, like low self-esteem, low motivation and understanding of our own worth, devaluing, and we scatter each other into fight or flight. We've been put into trauma, a lot of us, since pre our birth, because our mothers were in trauma, right? And their mothers and the mothers before them, and so on and so forth. Whereas there's now a vibration that you felt if you've meditated at least once, if you've gotten a good exercise in, if you've had a really good roll in the hay, you've had these ecstatic experiences where you touch the more than, but you're also still in the body, right? And that is basically what my whole premise is helping, coaching people to staying in body, because of the fight or flight that's happening right now. And us as bodies of water, we connect to the energies around us. We automatically want to read into and understand each other. And vibrate back so that people can understand, so that we can feel like we're part of the group. We now need to pull ourselves out of fight or flight. We now need to be steady. So the spiritual war is basically, it's completely about the mind. It divorces, it's the mind. The mind says it's divorced from the spirit, right? Science says that it can't explain religious experiences. It can't do any of these things. So it tries to say that it doesn't exist. Well, even the world existed before science, but we'll get into that later. The mind, it's inside of us right now. It doesn't exist outside of the human body. It's trying to divorce itself from the body, right? The mind is saying, well, I'm better than these legs because I saw it on TV. I'm better than these, I'm better than the body. The body is something that I can leave behind. And you often find when people are divorcing from their body, their mind wants to adapt some type of substance, adapt some type of addictive behavior, some type of numbing out. It'll even just check into media and kind of get stuck there for a while. It'll just go seamlessly. I mean, how many people have been in an argument, not just a regular discussion, an argument where all of a sudden, what happened? How did I say that? Where did that go? We have left the body, and guess what? Something still happened. Your physical body was still there. You might have entered into a situation you didn't want to. People have also been traumatized out of the body. Sexual abuse, they get split personalities. There's all kinds of intimidation that happens. It's crazy because everything has been set up to provide these types of circumstances. We have so many resources on this planet. When we decide as a species, when the mother wakes up and says, everybody eats, right? When it's time for all of us to be taken care of, that is what we're shifting into. A little bit here and a little bit there can go a long way. A few nice words to yourself in the morning can go a long way. Taking that time to do your physical exercises, your stretching, can loosen your back to make you feel a whole lot better, a whole lot longer than, I just got to keep going. I just got to keep rushing because my mind is telling me that it's better if I just keep going. So embodiment is the key. Winning the spiritual war is really, really simple. All you need to do is be in your body. It's that easy, but it's also that hard, because consistently being conscious in your body. Now, I'm not saying if you're using some type of prescription or some type of plant medicine or whatever these things, or, just eating to make yourself feel better. There's a balance between the self-care and that consciousness where you're caring for the temple, and when you're checking out and hurting the temple, right? So understanding discernment is going to be one of your keys. So embodiment, you need a plan for embodiment, which I can help you come up with a plan. I've got a multi-pronged approach that I'll bring up at the end. I've got to get over myself and promote myself. That's one of those things, right? Because the mind says, oh, you don't need to promote, you don't need to do this, right? You don't need to get out there. It's like, well, I kind of do if I want this consciousness to spread. I kind of do if I want people to be in their body and understand their worth and see how to actually step in this world the way that I'm going to give you my example, but you're going to come up with your own, because that's the whole point. It's not necessarily to have me as the coach, but it's to have the whole life be your playground, be your Garden of Eden. Now, we're clearing a lot of stuff out of the playground right now, a lot of things that haven't been working for everyone. And as soon as you start to learn your boundaries and recognize your traumas, right, you can then alchemize that trauma to allow you to have a greater depth of presence. Now, when you're allowed yourself to be present, you can find out what stirs you and what doesn't stir you. You can be authentic, not about what's pulling you or what the image of you is supposed to look like or how it's supposed to go or the fact that your presentation was supposed to XYZ. What you can do is breathe and change and realize that it's constantly shifting and it's okay. You may have had a plan, or you may have wanted it to go a certain way. And that's part of the plan too, is allowing for things to shift and change. One of the biggest traumas, I would say, of my life in the recent past, I'm going to skip the most recent, but I'm going to go a little bit further than that. It's too traumatic. I don't want to talk about it. But the trauma before that one, it was a divorce, right? And I had a whole plan about who I was going to be and what my life was going to look like and, or at least feel like. And then that person was gone. And I realized, you know what? Boom. It wasn't that I lost the person, right? Because we were obviously not meant to be together. But what it was the fact that I didn't know who I was anymore. Now, if you spend your time relating yourself to other people, as in, who am I in relation to this person, you're not going to have a decent foundation enough on which to stand. And the only pillar on which you can stand is yourself. So let's empower yourself to figure out what it is that you want to accomplish and be. And yes, it will be nice to bring these people along the way, but they may or may not make it on the boat, to be honest. They may or may not make it into the long, later chapters, but that's okay, because they had something to do with the lessons of the previous ones. And so you take time to figure out about that trauma. When I died, when I was reborn, I had to look at myself and feel myself out. And what's really beautiful when you're shaken to your core, when you're shaken to this level of who am I, and you just imagine all of your cells breaking down, because that's where I've got a lot of degrees, people. Yes, in the program we're going to talk about later, I go into the sciences, I go into the into a little bit of the biochemistry, into creating the dance that is you, to help you understand your own power of alchemy, right? Because alchemy is itself where science and spirit meet, seen and unseen, felt and unfelt. And there's a way through, if you understand Reiki, there's a way through to connect through that, through time and space, and start to heal all those pieces. Start to bring those pieces of yourself back where you have, in fact, experienced all of that trauma. In fact, gotten to the spaces that really weren't so sweet, right? So let me see here. Can I do it like that? No, I can't. Alrighty, let's just do the screen. Okay, so winning strategies, alchemizing trauma. What would be ideal would be to what is it that you really want, right? For me, family, happiness, connection, friendship. And it's always an inside out job, right? I don't know how I'm supposed to drink this, but get a handle on it. I'm so funny. I like to look at life from this 8-wheel, the 8 different avenues of life. But you could also look at it from the chakra centers. You can look at it from whatever space you need in order for you to really be able to get to that level of balance, that level of safety, right? Because in order to heal from trauma, you need to feel safe. And as of right now, I can tell you a majority of people do not feel safe. We all feel like we are being attacked. And whoever made you understand or think that you were being attacked, the spiritual war didn't start yesterday. Okay? It started a long time ago. And the spiritual war, if you think about it, if you're even able to have this conversation, then your ancestors have put together so much work just to hold where you can think about, where am I learning these things? Where have I learned these things? Now, a lot of it comes from books. A lot of it comes from what we think we know of as history. We're finding that things have been edited. I recently saw an interview with a retired police officer who was talking about Tulsa, and Black Wall Street and the whole taking down of that area, and how there were mass graves, and how there was all this really dark, like just demonically evil, like brutal things being done to people, being dragged in the street, drawn and quartered, killed in front of their homes, just all kinds of stuff. But would they put that in the history books? No. They wouldn't tell you. They wouldn't want to empower you enough to think, this is something that we can do. When you become powerful, it scares certain people. It scares them to the point that they feel they need to act on you. They need to act on the opposing force. And what's interesting is it made us scared now, even to the point where they've used the religion. I'm side noting here because I told you I was going to go off the cuff. I'm only going to talk about this for another 15 minutes, the spiritual warfare, and then I'm going to get into the energy healing. Okay. If you have any questions, please comment. I don't know, like, subscribe, share this, send this to people. Tell them you can watch from the beginning. The first 10 minutes are it's a really interesting little kerfuffle, and you get to hear me kind of talk, like pleading with my son. Hey, you were cool the whole time. Anyway, kids are so funny, and they're real about what's happening in the world. So we've been programmed from the very beginning that everything is war, right? Ancestors either fought in war, or they were slaves, or they were controlled, or this is something that we've been programmed into thinking. There's somebody else who's always the boss. There's something else that's always on top, and it's not about the people. And now we're at a point where we're using science to describe the world. We're using science to say that this is how reality is. But when you think about it, look at this. This is somewhere in the beautiful land of Greece. Look at how old that building is. It is older than science. I'm laughing but science is everything, right? When I took a class called medical anthropology, and I learned a word called hegemony. And hegemony means it's the power something gives itself by being itself. And science is one of those really hegemonic practices. And science and medicine are coupled, but medicine goes back further than Greece. Medicine existed, herbal medicine, herbal treatments, all these things existed, but they wouldn't be considered science. Okay, so even the pyramids, right? The pyramids, well, they are amazing. They said slaves built them. But then scientists today, they calculated back using physics and all the things we now understand to help us explain the world we're living in, that, oh, we still don't know how they built that, because those stones were stronger, heavier, and larger than 10,000 men could lift. So there's no way they could build them. And have built them with human hands and human strength, humans as we understand and know them. So science, what we now determine as the end-all be-all conclusion of things, can still not explain the pyramids, which means that there has to be something more. Now, this more gives us a level of spiritual grace and spiritual understanding. That means the more. Everybody's talking about the more. We've got some beautiful Hindu deities here. I think that's, I don't know, he's got 4, is that? I don't want to say the name wrong. I don't want to be wrong in that consort. And we've also got both sexes here, right? Well, we even got an animal on this one. We got an animal head on here. And all this beautiful symbolism to tell a story. Now, this is a broader religious concept that has been narrowed. And we went into monotheism, and there's nothing wrong with monotheistic beliefs, right? For everything to unify. And that's kind of like the nature of what's happening now. We split apart, we're on all these pieces, and now we're doing our best to kind of unify. But when we unify under this type of energetics, which we have learned in our DNA, our ancestors understand religious persecution because religion has been utilized to torture and kill and do all of these things. And because of this vilification, we now realize that it was used for power. It wasn't just used for saving people, right? Because this doesn't look like it's saving anyone. It looks like it's doing a whole lot of damage. It was used for control. So knowledge empowers you. The more you know, the more you can think about all of this really crazy, how we were even put together into this belief that everything is attacking us. Okay? So let's take a look back at science. Can science really get you through if it's only looking at surface level understanding of the material world? There has to be balance. And without that balance, there's war. So this is also an unbalanced view of spirituality, right? When we originally talked about religion and belief systems, there was a more open paradigm. There was a more open understanding. So old paradigms and new religions. So this old paradigm of being under control, being gaslit, if you will, that everything is against us and that somehow this being wants to destroy us. We wanted to move away from that. We thought it was archaic, right? So what can we put our faith in now? We can put our faith in the almighty dollar, right? Well, can we put our faith in the dollar? Can we put our faith in this piece of paper that didn't exist before the world? The fish, if you ate fish or if you ate plants or you would have, all of these things existed before the advent of money, but we use money as a form of exchange. Money is very useful when it's used properly. Just like science, we now say science is the paramount of all reasoning. Well, if that's the case, then didn't the world come before science? didn't even the pyramids and that whole huge, I mean, looking at the Hawaiian culture and being blessed to be here, they navigated with the stars, and they still do. They were able to pass down and keep that ike, or that knowledge, right? We have wayfarers, because I guarantee these wayfarers, the seafarers who navigated by the stars, were from deep in the heart of Africa, and that understanding. I mean, look at the pyramids. Come on. And how they line up in the world, that's a whole nother story. But we now have science. So science says there's hierarchy. There are things that are lower, and there are things that are higher. And we are of a higher species, so we automatically say, so if I'm thinking with my mind, then I am definitely better than, the elephant in the jungle, or, the gazelle or the lion. I'm better because I'm a human, and I have created that. And then even within our humanity, our humanness, we've created science. You look at anthropology, because this is all my stuff that I've studied. I really didn't even go on about me, but anthropology tried to create a hierarchy of race. And they wanted to use ethnographies to determine what was heathen, what was uncivilized, right? And because civilization was their understanding of what was supposed to be paramount, because they assume that being in harmony with nature, and being on your farm and understanding how to work with land is better than being, or is not as good, or is, even having wild, passionate sex was just not okay, right? That was just not the thing to do. So we're going to say we're better than you. So the king and all of the courts and the 12, or like the, 27 forks and 15 spoons and all of these other things that you can only use for specific things. And so the pageantry was better than being just able to sit and meditate in the forest, okay? Being able to know how to harvest your own food. All of these things were frowned upon, right? Oh, they seem to be enjoying their sexuality. That's not okay, right? Power is also a new religion, right? Because that's what people say. I mean, look at what's happening. Do you need $1 billion? What are you going to do with that $1 billion? You're going to sit on it and then die with it? And then what happens? It gets stuck up in a legal system and does nothing, right? When we could easily create and end global warming for 300 and something. I forgot. I mean, 300 million? No, it's 300 million. That seems ridiculously low. But imagine if it were. I mean, these numbers are so large, they're even hard to fathom. But yeah, and still we have rich and poor, and the grab for money is the grab for power, right? We're going to, for some reason, it's a matter of paramount for people to say we are better than others, we are more powerful than you, and then that is what makes us better. But it has nothing to do with their actual moral ground. Okay, so let me see if I can get through this relatively quickly. So that's the old paradigm, right? That's what we are phasing out of right now. We're finding that money no longer soothes. We're finding that science is no longer credible because it's based on who is studying what. Even though science is absolutely amazing, and I'm totally in with technology, because look at how we're using technology right now. Look at how we're sharing this consciousness right now. And it can also be used when there is extreme health issues, and when people need safety and security, building homes easy, fast, getting water places, all these wonderful things. And power is amazing when it's used appropriately. And the people are left safe and they're allowed to heal their trauma. But what is actually the real problem here? Is it the fact that everyone is into these new religions, or is it the fact that nobody knows that they're at war because of those religions? So cut back to being in the womb, cut back to being pregnant. This woman is having her child in a hospital. And that is a wonderful thing if that's what makes her feel comfortable and safe and she's got some health risks and stuff. I was blessed enough to be able to have my baby at home. I had no complications whatsoever. I mean, there's a little bit of something, but I mean, I don't need to get into the nitty gritty with you unless you really want to know all that. But think about it. You're a baby in a womb. Your mother is in this is actually the worst position to give labor in. Look at her feet are even up in stirrups. It's not comfortable. You can't bear down. You can't actually push from this position. So, and it appears this child is being born vaginally. So at least that's still happening. It's not another scheduled C-section, which is fine too, if that's what's necessary for the health of the mother and the child. I totally am into it, but we're not able to have these conversations. And I think I'm being too nice, so I'm taking up too much time. Anyway, this child, you're a baby. You're in a space, a cocoon that's warm. You don't have to drink water. You don't have to eat food. You're completely comfortable floating around. It's great temperature for you. And then bam, you're in the hospital. You're pulled out or taken out of your mother. You're vigorously wiped clean. You're given all of these shots. You're suddenly like cold and hot and being yelled at and flashing lights and all of this stuff is happening to you. And did you not think that that would be a terrifying experience? Trauma 1. Now, this is not trauma 1, but I'm claiming it to be trauma 1 so that you can understand how intense the change is, how intense the severity of the situation is. Okay, so this is something they say you don't remember, but we know now that the body has memories. Okay, the body has memories. It knows on a deep, deep level how and what has happened, whether you are conscious of it or not. Your heart beats. Do you consciously tell it to beat? No, because your body knows. Your mind has a connection with your heart and it knows. Walking, you don't walk right away because you have to gain the muscles. Your muscles have memory. It becomes easier and easier to the point where you can run, right? From wiggling to crawling to walking, like stumbling and then walking and then running and then sprinting and then, all these other things. You start having fancy footwork, who knows, you do join a chorus line, whatever. So your body has memory. And one of the markers of this memory is DNA. And it's so funny that we don't talk about this early on because we're just now understanding it. Science is just beginning to get into the depths of it. And you know how science doesn't know everything? Because it still calls a large chunk of the DNA that it doesn't understand junk DNA. And I guarantee that a majority of your body is not junk. You may not be mostly human, simply because of the nature of it. You look at these studies, they're saying that our microbiome, which is the little microorganisms that live in harmony on us to help keep us alive and in us, right? In our stomach and our mouth, all of these things, that we are 12 to 1 part human. So 1 part human to 12 part other beings. If this is freaking you out, welcome, right, to Earth, because Earth has so many thousands and millions of species on her. And we've talked about how many we've lost. That's why we're all in this green movement and attempting to save other creatures. But look at ourselves. We can't even save ourselves. Look at ourselves. We have a huge gap between the rich and the poor. And that really shouldn't be that way, especially with the level of communication and the ability to shift and move resources the way that we do. And our resources are not adequately being used properly. But these are all discussions that can be utilized later, and you can shift that through how you boycott, how we use dollars, how we use all of these things. But this is, I'm going to get into epigenetics. Okay, I'm going to spend a few more minutes because I really want you to understand. So we have been programmed on a DNA level for feeling at battle and at war. Okay, so how DNA works, epigenetics works like this. Genetics works like this. Your body produces based on the markers on DNA. So DNA, this is a dumbed down picture of DNA, and it doesn't show you, but there's little markers that come on these that tell you, that make either DNA tightly wound or a little open, right? And those parts that are more open are more reproduced sections by the other machinery inside of you, right? And so that other machinery, it can link on, open the DNA and produce whatever hormones are needed, whatever fats, all these other things, whether you need to reproduce that cell and create a new one, all of that wonderful stuff. And things like emotions and trauma, they have serious markers that say, in order to survive, we need to have cortisol come out. We wonder why everybody's fat, right? We were all grandbabies of the people from the Great Depression, right? Or a lot of people are, and all of these things are happening. They have so much cortisol production in order to survive. Of course, a lot of us have that easily stressed out systems. Plus, we were initiated into our societies through a stressed out conditioning. Even though we were given a home and we had our may or may not had our parents, all these wonderful things. These are traumas that were induced to our persons without our permission, our explicit permission. We might have given some soul permission, which is something we could talk about on a one-on-one, all of these other stuff. But feel free to feel free to email me if you want to have this discussion. I probably should make this presentation a little shorter, who knows. But anyway, so in order to survive, we've had these types of expression, right? And if survival meant shutting down your gifts or not talking about certain things, or not talking about certain things, as in you gain a level of hesitancy, which provides a certain marker, right? So every time you think, oh, that might happen, I have a little bit of fear, and a certain type of hormone cascade or a certain type of production, hormone production that produces maybe more fat tissue. Or they even did a study on prisoners, right? And they tried to claim that African American males should be locked up because they have more aggressive markers, because they have a lot of aggression. But if you which produces a certain hormone cascade. Now, the reason they have those that pass down is they were slaves. Their parents were ripped apart. Their families were ripped apart. They were, unjustly persecuted over several generations, over hundreds of generations, right? And so slavery hadn't been abolished till 1928. That's still less than 100 years ago. Okay, which means all of that anger and rage for hundreds, if not thousands of years, was expressed in the DNA. So it's going to be carried down. So the generations are going to have and express more and more anger, easier and quicker and quicker, as part of their survival mechanism, right? How do they claim it? What we want to have power. How do we have power? We have to have more things. How do we get more things? They gotta have anyway, blah, 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 blah. Peace, right? Inner peace, sweet for the love of hegemony. Give us inner peace. And how do you get there when you've been put under this type of stress from the beginning? Well, you have to reprogram your brain for peace. You have to reprogram for the sweetness, as opposed to understanding there's a war, and understand that there are several channels, right? There are several channels that you can change to. You can change to war, or you can change to peace. And I know that I've said that as broadly as I could, but realistically, that's kind of what it means. So part of training the brain means going through ritual, means going through the process. You've been through the ritual of doing the depowering, the not understanding the self, all these wonderful things. But most likely you've started to cultivate peace. You started to cultivate your understanding. You started to cultivate even opening to new knowledge. If you're watching this, you've cultivated and you made it past the beginning. I don't know if I can edit it or not, but I'm going to keep it on here because this is my trial and errors, right? I got to be real. And obviously get through that tech curve and the timing thing. Maybe I should have woke up. Blah, blah, blah. I'm reprogramming myself to understand that I'm worth it, right? I'm also going to clear the blockages. Now, I showed this picture of smoke before in the beginning, and that picture is important because I want you to understand that it's through that haze where you close your eyes and you go within and you silence and you allow for peace to settle down. Now, if you want a beautiful ritual because you feel the oppression, and I really didn't talk about cursing and the levels of curses, right? I didn't really talk about that, but I offer a ritual protection kit that's absolutely astounding. I've got some good feedback on it. It's on sale right now. I also open an Etsy if you want to do this in payments. I haven't figured out how to do payments on my website yet, but you can do payments on Etsy. And I also am in the works of doing a 9-week intensive on ascension and how that process can help you, because all of us are empaths. And I know it's becoming more sensitive. Some people want to pretend like they're dumb about it, but we're all empaths at this point. Okay. And because of that, I wanted to help people go into their energy healing self. Can I talk about hexes? Okay. Hex is very similar to a curse, but it's not as, it's actually, I would say a hex is more effective. Let's do this. A hex is more effective than a curse because a hex is more effective than a curse because a hex is done instantly and then taken away. Similar to how people manifest, right? They go, I want the parking spot, let it go, parking spot, right? Versus a curse, which is, I want that parking spot, 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 I want that parking spot. Fuck. Well, actually, it's kind of a little bit worse than that. And they go and then they don't get the exact parking spot. So then they're just mad, but then they realize, oh, the entire parking lot is empty except for, the one spot you wanted, right? So that's what happens with the curse. It starts to pick up speed like mud. A hex is like, it's like a quick eye flash or like a quick negative thought that shifts. And oh, hey, it shifts the energy, and it can catch up, but it typically only sticks to one person. But and it also kind of bounces back to the other person. But anyway, so back to this presentation. Let's see, because I'm almost done, and I'm going to promote myself, and then I'm going to do an energy healing, and I'll hang on a little longer than I normally would to do the energy healing. So let me see if I can make this. Man, you guys, it's supposed to be helpful with 2 monitors? I'm not sure. Anyway, okay, so with my, I'm offering a glue embodiment package, and that's got a one-on-one embodiment coaching for $444 a month. And I'm saying I'm only going to do it for the first 12 people, and then after that, it's going to go to $777. And then it'll have exclusive recorded content, meditations, energy healings that are all on there. If those of you check out my channel for some free stuff, if you want, those who've gotten some of the paid stuff knows that this stuff is really, really beautifully intense. And it's really nice because of how I've worked with chemistry and biochemistry. I really know how to kind of tap into those vibrational energies and really help shift that for people. I do go into DNA healing, movement practices to keep the energy moving, because it's that stillness that's really going to keep you locked in. I've got the intuitive channeling that I'm going to start doing per week. So I'll do a free version, and then I'll on YouTube. So if you're watching on my channel, please like, subscribe, share. And I'm going to start doing intuitive energy readings for the week and intuitive energy healings. And then I'll have a donation space that you can donate if you like, and no need if no can. I have a recommended reading list for those of you who love to sit down and read but want some good information. We'll also, I'm slowly creating a forum so people can communicate with each other and put out like TV shows and like spiritual insights, because you know how we all get our spiritual insights from various ways. I'm going to do 30 minutes of one-on-one coaching per week with you. And that 30 minutes will be extended based on what's happening with me and my son and all that stuff. So don't worry, you'll get more than your money's worth. I usually give way more than my money's worth. Your money, my money, your money, our money. Anyway, and then I'm going to give you 2-hour group coaching sessions so you can bounce off of each other as well, because it really does help when you have a cohort that you can do all that good stuff with. Coaching session / energy healing, and then you'll have instant access to the beta program, which is like a 15-minute per day 2-week program that I set up on Facebook that actually was super duper powerful. And then you're going to get a 50% discount on my 9-week Inner Alchemy Academy once I finally finished it. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm still going to do the energy healing after this. I want you guys to stay blessed, stay golden, and know you were made for this golden life. And that's my website, Made for This Golden Life. Anyway, okay. So do we have any? Oh, Kathy D says it's an amazing program. Thank you. I love you. She's got some good stuff too. Okay. So does anybody have any requests or anything you guys want me to go into specifically on this energy healing? Because this energy healing is going to be more of a mind clearing, like a third or first eye, however you call it, as well as an anchoring in of the energies of the body. And if you're this far in, I'm going to tell you to, in real talk, I'm on my cycle right now, right? And this full moon is like intense. And so that makes the energy even stronger and the connection even stronger. So I'm going to go through and work on you. Okay, so take a deep breath in. Sigh on the out. Breathe in. And out. Go ahead and tone in different sounds. We're going to do it one more time. It's in and deep. Fill the belly. Fill the chest. Expand the back. Let your lungs just really stretch with a little swaying back and forth and out. Now gather your lower abdomen or your lower intestine and your butt. Your butt will just squeeze and pull up. And feel the universe tap in and drip down into your crown, through your third eye, through your throat. Jump up and coat the high heart and jump down, because the high heart's above the heart, right? It's the high heart. Down into the heart, into the solar plexus. Start to wave around, waking up your lower half into your sacral. Put your hands over your sacral area. And now you're going to push your hands down like a wave, down through your hips, over your knees, down your ankles. And then go ahead and tap your heels and let your feet chakra just go deep into the earth, into that magma hot core. And then the energy shoots right back up to about 1.5 feet under the ground. And it anchors in. Or under your apartment or wherever you're sitting, just imagine it. You're anchored into the earth, but about 6 feet. And then it goes up to your feet chakra, your ankles, your calves, your knees, just filling you with gold light up to your hips. Squeeze your lower muscles through your, if you have balls, it goes under your balls and in through. Or if you don't, it just goes in through and up into the uterine area. Filling this space, the wheel is turning up to the solar. I feel like you guys need to move left and right and shake your jaw. Just loosen up. Open spaces for the energy to move up through the body. The solar, the heart, a high heart, Loosen the jaw, the throat. Up to the well of dreams now. Because we are the earth's dream now. The well of dreams is the base of the skull. The energy is still moving up your feet from the earth. It's just like a wave. It just keeps coming more and more and more, and filling you up and filling you up into the third eye, out through the crown, deep into space, and back. And now it's pouring, constantly pouring, cooling, pouring. The back of your head, like you're in the shower, like water is trickling through you. Let your body become electrified with this magnet energy. So you've got hot energy coming from the earth, like water, and then you've got this cool energy coming in from the heavens, like water, right? So you've got hot and cold swirling inside of you. Let it build up this energy. Let it start to alchemize you. So I want you to take some breaths in and just feel this. Around you, envision a bubble of protection. And around that bubble, an even bigger bubble. And around that bubble, an even bigger bubble. It goes on into infinity. And so you feel all of these energies constantly moving, constantly shifting, constantly. And I want you to think about safety. What makes you feel safe? Start to wiggle your toes. Is that financial abundance? Is that knowing you're paying? Now envision your bank account padded. Envision you're buying your new home or signing a new lease. Envision yourself getting in to the airport of that place you want to visit. What makes you feel safe and comfortable and free? And allow that to come in. And as that comes in, start to squeeze your lower tian. Take a deep breath in and feel that. Allow yourself to squeeze up into the abs and open. What makes you feel special and loved and creative? What makes you feel powerful? Is it when you take that time for yourself, for self-love? Allow for yourself to come in to your power. Call in like a lightning. The earth still bringing up warmth, heaven bringing in cool. Check back in with that eternal bubble, right? That eternal protection. Now we're going to go into the heart, bringing in that love, that comfort, that allowing yourself to feel connected, allowing yourself to feel unified and special and adored, and calling in all of that space. Yes, 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 yes. Sigh and release, and up to the throat. What makes you feel heard and understood? Can you hear yourself? Yes, you can. You want to write that book? You want to paint that art? You want to sing? You want to call it to you? Let the alchemy of the universe come together for you, and have faith and know and trust. And then we're going to go up to the third eye. And then I want you to just see a purple orb that shines light in every single direction, all over the world, connecting to the purple vibration, to this indigo vibration. And you know now that with clarity, you too are a gift to the divine. And one more time, up to the crown. Heaven pierces you again and pulls the energy up and out and expands it through all of the bubbles, through and around you, and then to the earth. And it starts to flow through you. You start to see and feel all of you magnetized, all of you rolling in this love and connection with the great I am. And as you start to call in this peace and this ecstasy and this passion towards you, you feel it start to radiate from your body, and you hear the universe hear you. You feel the universe, feel your desires. And then you come to you. Open your eyes if they're closed, tap your heels, wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers, start to move your body, allow yourself to expand in and out. That was just lovely. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and tap on your sternum, just up and down your sternum. Ooh. Come back into your body. Detach from everything that you were thinking about or feeling about. I know that was a great feeling, but we're going to manifest now. So just relax, let it come in, do you. Do you have any questions? If you want any more, if you have any questions or concerns, if you'd like to join our group, or if you want access to, I don't know, I could give you a discount code. Let's say, let's see, I'm going to write it down. How about the discount code of love 111? Love 111. That'll be the code. Love 111. Okay. So love 111. If you want a discount, I'll give you 10% off of everything right off the bat, except for the sage sticks. Those are already at ridiculously low. I pray and bless these things if you want to get some sage from my website. If you want any personal consultations, please let me know with this. Before I actually accept, okay, so I know I offered the embodiment coaching, but I need to actually connect with you to see if we're a good fit, because that's how we're going to know if we're going to make it work. I also am going to offer payment plans, so we can pay weekly as opposed to the whole thing at once. So drop me an email. Let me see if I have it on my banners. Do I have it on my banners? No, I don't. But here you go. So this is my website. On my website, I have an email. My email is april.williams@madeforthisgoldenlife.com. And I am open to also work with you on all the other aspects. I'm thinking about changing the name of this workshop, because the idea of warfare is not really what I'm into, but it's kind of what's happening. So I kind of want to switch back into the love consciousness stuff and working into the divine feminine energies and aspects to help balance those out for people, and when they're, so they can see past the wounding and into their power. So that might be more the scopes of the next presentations. I would love some feedback, comment, let me know. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed that energy healing and you're feeling very centered. My baby has been super patient with me, so I'm going to go get him the things that he is requesting quite loudly. I don't know if you can hear him or not, but anyway, love you. Oh, also, if you want and you only want a ritual kit and you need something to get your mind and you want to break free from these things that bind you, that you cannot see or understand, please hit up my website, the 999 Ultimate Protection Kit is a huge, it's amazing. I have one testament. I know you can testify that someone got in contact with their twin after doing this, and we're going to keep it that way. So clearing that energy, and a lot of it also will clear any curses that you put on yourself, right? Or anything that happened through your line that you've been committed to. So without your knowing, but because it's in your DNA, like, I want to stay small, I want to be hidden, I want to, all of these things that happen, that our ancestors make pacts energetically with their bodies, and it goes through and we need to process it. So congratulations, you're on the other side. Ciao for now. Love you. Bye.